Hey guys, what's up? It's Scott. Slapping as usual. Lots of topics to talk about, from society to fiction. You know, that special little place you go to get away from the BS. So, The Wheel of Time, Robert Jordan. Gotta do it, man, because that is the greatest story ever told to me over anything ever written by anybody, ever. Bold words, I know, but I know there's a lot of people out there already nodding their heads. I grew up reading a lot, probably read more than my teachers, because when I was in high school, if, if the library wasn't open before school started, I was in the gymnasium reading before school started, okay? And lots of cool stuff I read there in those few short years. But it wasn't the Wheel of Time. Okay, we get to that later. I ended up with a girlfriend that introduced me to The Eye of the World, the first novel in Robert Jordan's epic, grand masterpiece, which, in my opinion, you know, you got to preface it with that. You don't want to be too forceful. Let everybody know it's their opinion too. It's better than any Stephen King, George Lucas, Spielberg, you know, the greats in comic books, these video game developers. None of them touch this. I still remember cities and streets and buildings and the differences here and there. And I can do that with other franchises too. But I haven't read this in a minute. And it's still there, like it's like a decade. So I'm kind of beating around the bush, blah, blah, blah. Should I finish The Wheel of Time? Because I haven't finished it. You know, the man passed away, he checked out. The last time I kind of checked into that was his widow was trying to, like, auction off, like, all of his swords. And the guy, like, god damn, his sword collection was off the hook, man. I'm sure she scored with that, you know. But, you know, the story wasn't finished, so what do? Do you leave it in honor of, you know, this great man, your husband, from her point of view? Or do you bring somebody in to help finish it and hope for the best? And, like, who they ended up with, like, I never read the guy's work. But even if you know, you're going to favor him, like, even he knows, he's got to know, he's not going to be able to measure up with this cat. And it's not necessarily because he's inferior anywhere. It's like Robert Jordan was the way he was for a reason. So you bring him in to, like, right in between and fill it in, okay? Because I remember a long time ago, we're talking decades ago, that Jordan was talking about, like, he's ailing, right? But he's optimistic. And not only is he going to finish off The Wheel of Time, but he was talking about starting another series, like a 3-book long, like, little mini epic series. Okay? And that's very ambitious and optimistic for any type of condition you might have. But even then, he was talking about, like, yeah, it's going to be 3 more books. And I don't care how big they are, and I don't care if you have to wheel them around in, like, a, you know, a dump truck or whatever he used there. And the other day I was in the library and I saw the size of those books. I'm like, yep, he wasn't bullshitting. That's what it ended up being. But I don't know if they were necessarily that much bigger than the rest of them, especially for hardback. I had the entire series from the prequel all the way up until the last one where, you know, he didn't write another one. I remember his comment saying that, you know, he's probably not going to be around or whatever. So he wrote, like, the end which is forward thinking and like a time where things are kind of dire for a human being and maybe you shouldn't be that optimistic or afford to be. So he wrote the ending, and it was like, what did he say back? It was like 500 to 600 pages. So yeah, he worked backwards with the time he had. Incredible. You know, you're checking out of this motherfucker. It's your time. Yet, you got like balls of granite to see that through. Like, man, how do you admire this guy more than that? But you can. There was, back when the internet was kind of just getting going, or it's going a little bit, and, you know, the dial-up speeds, it takes forever to download a page. I was on, like, there was, like, a couple pages back then dedicated to the Wheel of Time. I don't remember the names. I think one of them was, like, Tar Valon. And he, would either get on there, or they would grab his stuff and put it on there, and he posted, a black and white photo of him and like his guys in a squadron back in Vietnam, kind of mocking the dead around him, the Vietnamese that they took out. And he was commenting on that, like, I was so young back then, like, and look at me now, like I don't recognize this kid over here in any of that. Well, thank you for saying that. You didn't have to say that. That's between you and God, right? But you said it, and it means a lot to somebody like me. And he didn't just write The Wheel of Time and do that. He was an author, right? And I'm not going to say I read all of his work, but I read all of his Conan stuff. And that might be the one author. I'm talking like books, novels, short stories, what have you, that actually did it better than the original when it came to Conan, which is Robert E. Howard. Harsh words, I know, I'll probably get flamed up for that, but Robert E. Howard and Conan is a story for another time, because Conan is tied with Wolverine for my favorite fictional characters ever. It's a tie. So imagine me when I got my hands on Marvel Comics presents What If Conan fought Wolverine. But anyways, back to the Wheel of Time. Any words to do it justice, like just saying blah blah blah, is actually going to hurt it, I think. There's nothing I can say negatively about one page of that outside of some of it is slow. And the last one I read that he did, I don't remember the name of it, Knife of Dreams. Okay. I think that's the one, like, mainly with Perrin and the Aiel. I remember Aqueducts. I just don't remember a lot more about that one, okay? But blah, 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 okay? We're going to talk about a lot here, I think. But I kind of want to finish, like, the end a little with Sanderson, okay? Jordan's widow brought him in to do the job. And here's the thing. Like I said, I'm not going to knock anybody that was decided on to come in there, because maybe you can pull it off. But the point is, like, man, you're not just able to operate freely within these confines. You're going to suffer the wrath of fans. So check it out. I didn't go out and buy the first one, the collaboration, okay? Because I didn't want to taint myself, and that's why I bring this video up. Should I? Should I finish it off and read Sanderson's joint collaboration with the late and great? Please tell me. Comment if you will. It's a small channel. Nobody knows who I am or whatever. You run across this? Because I want to know. Because I'm not going to watch the show. No matter how good it is. This baby I want perfect in my head. And I'll pass away that way. Nothing against Showtime or whoever has the rights doing that. And I've heard bad stuff about, you know, the DEI stuff or whatever. But even if it didn't have that, even if you brought everybody in, look, no offense to you, you did the best you could. It's one of the last vestiges of hope for awesome shit in my dome that needs to stay intact. So I pull it up online and I start reading some of the beginning. After the little standard Robert Jordan like prologue thing about the Wheel of Time, like the paragraph that's always the same, but at the end, the last few sentences add something new to kind of update you what's going on right here and right now. Maybe kind of like a Star Wars crawl at the beginning of the episodes. And I'm reading it, and it's fucking awesome. It's all doom and gloom. These are like the ghosts at that time, where the ghosts and the apocalypse and the dark ones coming back, and it's really starting to kick off. Okay. So I stopped. It was good, but it was great. That guy Sanderson's great from what I read. I want to read more of his. I don't know his work, but it's not Robert Jordan and the way he writes. This is all opinion based. What isn't? But if you don't believe me, check it out. You're going to see a contrast of slap. They didn't clash. Don't get me wrong. It didn't clash, but it just wasn't Robert Jordan. So I stopped. And then I thought, well, if you're not going to read this, you're not going to the synopsis. You're not going to read the books. What are you doing? Don't you want to know how this ends? Because Jordan ended it. He wrote the end. So I went to the synopsis, like on Wikipedia or something like that. And I read the ending, and that was only the second or third book or book series that floored me and brought me to tears, whether I wanted to or not. Because I heard about Egwene, what happened to her, and I read about Rand al'Thor and what happened to him. Anybody who's read the books know it took him a minute to get those out. We're talking a couple years. These are hundreds of pages long. And from the eye of the world all the way up till the end, you're growing with these characters. And he's growing too, as an author and a writer. So there, Egwene, Rand, Mat, Perrin, they're all farm town villagers that grew up with each other. And from the jump, you're thinking like, well, Rand and Egwene are destined to be together. And you're pulling for that and hoping for it. But he pulls them away. But he did it in a realistic way you can understand. Because I've had girlfriends where you think you're destined for whatever, and it just evaporates and you go in your own ways, and you might see them later on, and like they might hardly be recognizable physically, mentally, ideology, whatever. But you understand it and you get it. So yeah, it really fucked me up, man. Finding out what happened to her, like she became the fucking Amyrlin suit. But it took years upon years in the story and outside to get there. You grow with these people and Jordan and yourself throughout all of that. Fuck, man. I'm not sure what happened to Matchroom, Perrin, Moiraine. I know that Mat, and I think like a general or two from like the I'm not gonna call them Borderlands, but they're kind of the equivalent up north with the Blight and the Dark One up there. I think they went with her and they went into like that weird dimension with the snake people that wears people's skins or whatever, and they rescue her and pull her out. That shit's dope. I wish I could have read that. But here's the thing. Am I going to do it? Should I do that? That's what this video is for. So any of you who's just passing by, who gives a fuck about a fledgling upstart channel, wannabe, and you care about something like this, let me know, because I just, you gotta know I'm risking tainting whatever's in my pathetic dome. That little sponge thing rattling around in my skull with the neurons firing and all that. So what is it? Because I could talk about the Wheel of Time all day long, or dedicate videos to individual novels, indeed chapters of this historic franchise that shits all over anything else. Even the stuff I love, like Star Wars and Marvel, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, of Fire and Ice, okay? Martin, you know, I think he came out with his 1 year after Eye of the World and Robert Jordan, and I don't know the history between those two, whether they like each other or not, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So what do? Do I wrap that up with Sanderson? Like I said, he seems like an awesome novelist, but is it going to taint something beholden to me where I can't afford that anymore? Movies, comic books, TV series, they've all taken major hits in this modern era. I'm leaning towards don't do it, because if you are watching this and you hear the words I'm saying, you're watching me tell this story, tell my side of things. I don't know. Is it worth it to me? Is it worth it to me? What do you guys think? Should I take that leap, the plunge, knowing that at least I have the last 500 pages? 500 pages? What an ending! There must have been some shit going down he wanted to write there. And by the way, I don't think he just wrote the ending. There's other patches here and there that he felt was critical that he had to write. And maybe he didn't get there, but I do remember that he was talking about the notes he was leaving. And he wrote so many of them, it's like a damn book itself, you know, in a way, right? Like I said, I was in the library the other day. I saw the Wheel of Time down there, and it's like, man, those things are fat. Big, fat, thick, hardcover books. That's going to take some time to get through. I mean, some of us read faster than others. Some of us have more time. But I never looked at any of that as daunting. Either you love what you're doing or you're not, and you love to read. You love fiction. You love science fiction, horror, fantasy, okay? And this has maybe some horror elements into it, zero science fiction, straight up pure fantasy. And the guy did it without having to piggyback and hijack too much stuff. There's no dwarves in it. There's no elves. There's no orcs. There's no trolls. The closest thing you're going to get is the Ogier. The stonemasons that can build stuff. They're gifted and they can mold stone and all that. And they're passive, but they used to be aggressive. And they're kind of getting back into that. Maybe you could argue the Trollocs a little bit. Like animal hybrid people. But these things, they're not generic. These things are fleshed out, stone cold killers that will rape and murder you. This video isn't to go over the whole series, okay? Or anything like that, or individually, blah, blah, blah. It's basically, should I dive in and go ahead and finish it off and read the collab with Sanderson and Jordan? Let me know. Let me know, please. Please, because I'm kind of lost on this one, and I've been thinking about it a long time. A long time. And, you know, Wheel of Time people out there that haven't read Jordan's earlier work with Conan, you're going to love it. You're going to love it because that mythos, that fantasy world with Conan, way different, way different. But you're going to know who wrote it because Jordan is unbelievably detailed and vivid and on spot and on purpose with whatever he's talking about. That's why I knew immediately it wasn't Sanderson. Once again, no knock against him because what I was reading, once again, it was very dark and mature, and I was digging it. But I said, whoa, 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 whoa. What am I doing here? Is this Jordan? Am I going to finish this? That's where we're at. Going to cut this video off now. We're 20 minutes long, whatever, blah, blah. I don't really care how long it gets. But I don't have a lot more to say about this. The books, the fantasy world itself, could take a lifetime to talk about. I think we understand that. If we are me and you who appreciate fantasy, you don't have to agree with me that it's the greatest fantasy, or especially over Star Wars, Star Trek, DC, Marvel, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. But if you do agree with me that things aren't looking so good in modern day cinema, TV, whatever, you're going to have more of a feel of what I'm talking about. And just hit me up. Do I finish it off or do I pump my brakes and say no? No. It's good in your head now, man. Be good with that. Anyways, you know, it's your boy Scott. I'm getting sick and tired of sitting here slapping so hard. So I'm going to let you go. All right. Peace out, man.